Hi, and welcome to Old Soul Blues Guitar, and it's time for this month's Classic Licks series. And what I'm going to do for the months of March and April is go back and take a more in-depth look at the classic licks of Pee Wee Crayton, one of my all-time favorite electric blues guitar players. I did a classic licks lesson earlier for Pee Wee Crayton, but I just did a few of his licks. In this series, I'm going to actually do a number of lessons and start out looking at his bass rhythms, and then we're going to take a look at some of the chords used by Pee Wee Crayton or as part of Pee Wee Crayton songs. And then in the third lesson, we'll break down about 20 or 30 of his classic licks. And a lot of these ideas you can use in your own playing in so many different ways. And as I went through Pee Wee Crayton's playing in extreme depth, listening literally to dozens of hours of his music, I learned a lot of stuff that I had never noticed or learned before. So I'm excited about sharing all that with you. Let's get started. And we'll start out with the bass rhythms. And Pee Wee Crayton, a lot of his songs included these really cool bass rhythms on the guitar, which can be used as the foundations of songs that can be played, behind a band. When other instruments are soloing, they can also be used as the foundation for instrumentals, which he does with a lot of these. Let's start out with a basic Pee Wee Crayton type boogie rhythm, and this is one that I learned from an instrumental song called Bounce Pee Wee. And actually at the conclusion of my 3 lessons, I'm going to break down that instrumental all the way through and teach that to you, to show you a lot of these ideas as they're used in one of his songs. So in the key of G, I'm going to start out, and my first position bar chord is here with my first finger barring the 3rd fret. Now from that position, we're going to start these bass rhythms. And let me just play the first one all the way through for you. This is a typical Pee Wee Crayton boogie woogie type rhythm. Confused there a little bit at one part, but I'll break this down and show you. So we're starting from the 1, it's in G, and we're going. And this, it's kind of hard to hear on some of the songs, but you could do this a couple different ways. You can go 6th to 7th frets. We're starting out on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, twice, and then 6th to 7th frets on the 6th string, 5th fret of the 5th string, and then to the 7th and the 5th on the 5th string. Like that. Now we could also do, just kind of slide to the 7th fret of the 6th string. Like that. And I've heard both of those in his song. So that's played over the 1. And then when he goes over the 4, he just moves everything over a string, starting on the C, which is the 4, 3rd fret of the 5th string. That's a C. Now in the tune Bounce Pee Wee, he does this open string before he heads back to the 1. So in C, it's, and he hits the open 3rd string right there, the whole thing, and quickly back into the G or the 1. And then for the 5, starting from the D, which is the 5th fret of the 5th string, 8th and 9th frets of the 5th string, to the C, open. When he does that open, it's hard to hear exactly what he's playing on the 3rd fret of the 6th string when he gets back into the 1. It just sounds like he's kind of very quickly getting back into that. So it's like this. I can't really tell if he's hitting it twice or once or what he's doing there. But keep the timing and make it work. Let me play that all the way through slowly for you. first bass rhythm. That is in G. Now a variation of that, kind of, is what I call a Charlie Christian boogie. And if one thing I noticed as I listened to a lot of Pee Wee Crayton was that he borrowed a lot of ideas from the great Charlie Christian, the jazz guitar player who was also from Texas. And you wonder if there's got to be some kind of connection there. And so I'll show you a lot of Pee Wee Crayton licks that are based on licks from Charlie Christian's playing. And this is one of them, a rhythm lick, and this is also from Bounce Pee Wee. At one point, instead of doing this, he does this kind of rhythm. Let me play it all the way through for you. Doing there, he's just moving first finger to the 5th fret of the 5th string. And we're still in G. Whoops. And he's playing, so he's keeping the first finger anchored, at least I think it's the first finger, anchored on the 5th fret of the 5th string. And he's using the 2nd and 3rd fingers, perhaps, to get the 6th and 7th frets of the 6th string. There's no open string here. It's just those 3 notes. So you got. Just moves everything over a fret. So on the C, he's got his first finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. When he goes to the D, he puts it on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then he's going 8th and 9th frets on the 5th string. And that's a cool little bass rhythm that you can use. A third bass rhythm that you hear Pee Wee Crayton use quite a bit is one that is most associated with his instrumental tune called Blues After Hours. And he does this bass line that's really kind of cool. And I did an earlier video on Pee Wee Crayton's where I showed this, and I think I showed it wrong. And this is how he plays it. I'll just play it one time and then we'll break it down. That's the basic bass rhythm for After Hours. So we're in G again, and he starts out sliding into the 3rd fret of the 6th string from the 2nd fret. And it sounds like he does a little sliding back down, like that. Not too much. And then he's gonna go to the 7th fret of the 6th string. And it doesn't sound like he's doing this. Not hitting the 2 notes, 6 and 7. Just sliding to the 7th. Maybe sliding from the 6th fret. So the 7th fret of the 6th string to the 5th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret of the 5th string, and then back to the 5th. And back into it. And when he goes to the 4, he just does the same thing on the C, which is the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And then moves everything 1 string over, slides to the 7th fret of the 5th string, and then 7th fret, 5th fret on the 4th string. And then for the 5, starts from the 5th fret of the 5th string, which is a D, ninth fret of the fifth string, 9-7 on the fourth string. And that is the bass rhythm for After Hours. Now he has another instrumental tune called Frosty Night where he plays the same, I think it's pretty much the same thing, but just a little faster. It's the same progression pretty much, or the same idea. But so that's a bass rhythm that you hear Pee Wee Crayton use. Now another bass rhythm that you hear Pee Wee Crayton use is this one, which comes from a tune called Rockin' the Blues. And it's very similar to what we did the very first bass rhythm, but with a little difference, two differences. Let me play it for you one time. Just one way you can end it. So what he's doing, starting from the third fret of the fifth string, or sixth string, this is our G, and then to the seventh fret of the sixth string, just like we've done before. And this time we're going to go from the seventh, or the fifth, to the seventh fret on the fifth string, and then to the eighth fret, and then come back. So this little phrase here is one of the differences. When he gets over the 4, the C, it's the same pattern. Back to the 1. Then when he goes over the 5, he does this, which is a little different. So he's going to start climbing on the fifth fret of the sixth string, second, third, fourth, fifth fret of the fifth string, and then when he comes back the other way, when he goes back down, he's going to skip the fourth fret and go back to where he started. So he's going to go from the fifth to the third to the second on the fifth string, and then back to the fifth fret of the sixth string. So one more time. Turnaround in there, you could do that too. Our next Pee Wee Crayton bass rhythm comes from a tune called Get to Gittin'. It's also in the key of G, and it's very similar to the first rhythm that we looked at, but it's used in a different tempo. Let me play it for you one time. Plus, it's got a neat little bass turnaround that I'll throw in here. Back into it. So the rhythm, again, we start from the 1, third fret of the sixth string, and this time we are going to the 6th and the 7th fret of the sixth string, twice on the 5th fret of the fifth string, and then bouncing back and forth between the 7th fret and the 5th fret on the fifth string. Move everything over a string, playing over the 4 or the C. Then for the 5, we go to the D, 5th fret of the 5th string, 8, 9 on the 5th string, 7th fret to 9th fret on the 4th string. Then for the turnaround, it's like that. So what we're doing, we're going to hammer on from the 3rd to the 5th fret on the 4th string. And we're going to pick that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do a hammer-on pull-off on the fourth string. From the 5th to the 3rd on the 4th string to the 5th fret on the 5th string. We just play it real fast. That's the first part of that. Then the last part sounds like he's just going from the 3rd fret of the 5th string to the 6th fret of the 6th string to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, the 1. So played really slowly. He's going to walk into the D7th, from the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th on the 5th string. And then you can go right into a D7 chord or a D7 shape. I'm not sure if he does that or not. Sounds like he would. So the whole thing. One more time. Play this at full speed. And there's another Pee Wee Crayton bass rhythm. Comes from an instrumental tune. This is called the Answer, or Answer to the Blues After Hours. And he uses a lot of the same positions that we've seen so far, but again he mixes up the rhythm. Let me play this through for you one time, one verse. So what he's doing, starting off again, it's in G, as usual. Pee Wee does a lot of stuff in G. He's going to go 3, 3rd fret of the 6th string, 6, 7. And then to the 5th fret of the 5th string. So the first part. And then he's going to go to the right to the 8th fret of the 5th string, 8, 7. 5. So that's that next part. So the whole thing. And then he's going to walk, do that lick again. 6, 7 on the 6th string, 5th fret of the 5th string. Then to the 1. So let me put it all together. Ready to go to the 4, 5th string, 3rd fret, just does the same pattern. Back to the 1. Now he's going to go to the 5, so he starts 5th fret of the 5th string, D, 8, 9 on the 5th string, 7th fret of the 4th string, 10, 9, 8 on the 4th string. Back to the C. And so on. So it's just a variation of a lot of the same stuff. So if we take this, it's just a variation on that. Same notes, most of the same notes, just played differently. And that's one of the things you see in Pee Wee Crayton's bass rhythms. He's very creative at coming up with different ways to play those same ideas. Now the next bass rhythm is, again, something we've already played, but played in kind of a different way. When we did the boogies in G, we had this we double picked each note. 1, 2. Now he does some tunes where he just plays each note once, and there's one tune that's called Tired of Traveling, and there's another one called Austin Boogie. where he does kind of the same thing. And he uses, when he plays over the 5, he uses something that I showed you just a little bit ago. So let me play it through one time. Make sure I've got the right one. That's it, he's just picking one note. Instead of this. And the tune is a little slower tempo. It is slower tempo. Now I did one thing wrong there. When I went over the 4, the C, he does that instead of that. So the whole thing, 3rd fret of the 6th string, 7th fret of the 6th string, and then he goes 5 to 7 on the 5th string, and then the 5th fret of the 4th string. 7, 5 on the 5th string, back to the 7th fret of the 6th string. And then over the 4, whoops, let me do that again. Again. Then when it gets ready to go over the 5, goes back to that again, starting from the 6th fret of the 5th string. And that's it. That's another variation. So just picking the same boogie-woogie rhythm or a similar one note at a time instead of double picking it. Now looking through all my examples that I've done for you, I think I've got most of them. He has one tune, and I actually listed this as the 4th example on the tablature. I'll probably redo this so I don't confuse you, but he has one tune called Papa Stappa, where he does this really unusual 1-string rhythm. So when he's playing in the key of C, here's C. Instead of doing this, or something like that, he does this back and forth between the 10th fret and the 8th fret, where he does something like this. When he goes to the 4, which is really odd, and it's got kind of a strange rhythm to it. I think he starts on the 8th and goes back and forth between the 8th fret and the 10th fret on the 6th string when he's playing over the 1 or the C. Then when he goes over the 4 or the F, he's doing the same thing on the 5th string. Goes over the 4 or the 5, 5th string, 8th or 10th fret to 12th fret. And again, that's from an instrumental called Papa Stappa. Some of its instrumental names are pretty cool. So there you have a variety of bass rhythms, boogie-woogie rhythms, bass rhythms that you can play, mostly in the key of G, which is one that Pee Wee was fond of, but you could also move some of those, like if you're playing in B flat or A, you could do. You could use the same rhythm. It's not quite as bassy or low-ended as it is when you play in G, but those ideas you can move around and use in different keys. So starting out our series of Pee Wee Crayton lessons, we've looked at 6, 7 different bass patterns that he uses in his instrumentals and also in some of his vocals, songs with vocals. In our next set of lessons, we're going to get into the chords, and we'll start that lesson in just a few minutes. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Otherwise, I will be back with part 2 of this series of lessons on the classic licks of Pee Wee Crayton.